Hi friends, welcome to Tech Arkit YouTube channel. My name is Ravi. In this video session, we are going to see that AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner course. The next video is about AWS Well-Architected framework. So what is well-architected framework and how many pillars are there and what are those pillars and each pillar says what? So let's see, jump into the topic and see what those architected pillar frameworks will say here. The AWS well-architected framework is a set of best practices and guidelines for designing and operating reliable, secure, efficient and cost-effective systems in the cloud. It is based on 6 pillars of excellence. So what are those 6 pillars? You can see here. First one is an operational excellence. Second one is security. Third one is reliability. Fourth one, performance efficiency. Fifth one, sustainability. The sixth one is cost optimization. So these are the 6 pillars which makes the cloud operational, reliable, secure and efficient, cost effective. Let's see what are those pillars says and how they are designed and what is their focus area and what is a real-time example for those pillars. So the first one is operational excellence. The operational excellence pillar focuses on running and monitoring systems and continually improving processes and procedures. Key topics include automating changes, responding to events, and defining standards to manage daily operations. So this is the main focus on operational excellence. Let's see what are those focus areas. Preparation. So what is preparation here? So preparation means defining their goals, establishing a clear understanding of their systems and services, and identifying key metrics for monitoring and improving performance. So that is the preparation method. So let's see what is the next aspects of it. Operations means like excellence including the implementing automation, monitoring and alerting and establishing robust incident management and remediation process. So when you comes for an operation, so the operations is all included based on the automation, monitoring, incident management and remediation process. So next one is change management. So how the changes are tested, so how the testing is going on and what is the validation rules we have, so what is the rollback procedures you have on the change management process. Next one is responding means like use of an automation and real-time data analysis to detect and mitigate issues before they become a problem. So identify the detections in real time, analyze and resolve there itself. So it should not be a big problem if you mitigate it immediately. The next one is learning, analyzing metrics and logs to identify trends and areas for improvement and using automation to improve operational efficiency. So that's where, so you have to collect the metrics, logs and identify the trends. So where the areas you need to improve, you can collect based on the metrics you have collected, then do automation and improve on operational efficiency. That is a first pillar, the most focus on operation excellence. So if you take a real-time example, so where this basically fits, or the example in real time, if a financial services company, example you have a financial services company wants to improve the reliability of its trading platform, example you whatever you are doing some trading, so it's looking for a reliability of trading platform. By implementing automation for monitoring and alerting, establishing clear incident management process, and continuously analyzing metrics to identify areas for improvement, the company can achieve greater operational excellence and reduce the risk of downtime. So example, that's a financial company which is looking for a reliability. So what they are going to do, they're going to do is implementing an automation, monitoring, alerting, and incident management, and continuously analyzing the metrics and improving the process. So that comes in a operational excellence is an example of first pillar. The next one, if you see that the second pillar is security. Security is the major one which most of the companies do, right? Most of the companies are looking for this. Second pillar is about, so it's all about the security pillar, focusing on protecting information and systems. Key topics include confidentiality and integrity of data, managing user permissions, and establishing controls to detect security events. So this security is mostly focused on security aspects of it, like the ensuring the system designs and services are designed and operated in a secure and complement manner, protecting data confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and minimizing the risk of security breaches. So it's mainly focuses on there is no security focus, right? So let's see what is the key components of security pillar. So what is its focus on? Identity and access management. So this is like providing the access controls and authorizing the users, authorization and access control policies. That's the IAM. Detection means, so which is a detection mechanism including monitoring, logging and auditing of systems and services to detect security incidents and respond to them quickly. So whenever the security incidents happens, you should respond immediately, otherwise they become a bigger problems. Let's see infrastructure protection. So how the infrastructure protection is there, protect their infrastructure including networks, component resources and data storage from unauthorized access by implementing security controls such as firewalls, encryption and instruction detection system. So example, how the you have stored the data, or you are transferring the data on internet using the internet bandwidth, right? So if the data is not encrypted while transferring the data, then there might be a risk, so your data might be stolen, like, so that why, so include the firewalls and encryption mechanisms to do your data encryption. That's the infrastructure protection focus. And data protection focus, like whenever you are storing the data, so whether the data is encrypted, so if the data is encrypted, still you have a backup and to recover the whenever there is an incident happens, or if the data is lost, then you have a recovery mechanism is in place, ensuring data confidentiality, integrity and availability. The next focus is incidents response. So when there is an incident, so there should be a procedure including the incident detection, containment, eradication and recovery to minimize the impact of security incidents. Example, you should have the, if any security threats or any malwares or any antivirus related, if you get any kind of, right, you should have the focus, so how you can contaminate that and minimize the spread of that security incidents or the virus, something like that, right? So that is the major focus of this security pillar. A real-time example here, so if you see, taken a healthcare industry, so healthcare providers wants to ensure the security and privacy of patient data. So they actually collect the patient data, right? So there will be a lot of information. You tell to the doctor, the doctor write this information on the healthcare websites or their applications to analyze and provide you the good treatment, right? By implementing strong identity and access management controls, encrypting the data, the patient data in transit and as well as in rest, monitoring and auditing systems to detect security incidents, and establishing effective incident response procedures, the provider can achieve a strong security posture and compliance with the HIPAA regulations. So you have any regularities you opt for, the health industries most of the times they opt for a HIPAA compliance, HIPAA compliance regulations, right? So they should have some controls in place to measure that how the security is performing. So that's how they have the controls over this pillar is focus on security part of it. The third pillar is going to be in a reliability focused. So what is that reliability focused and what this reliability focuses on? The reliability pillar focuses on workloads performing their intended functions and how to recover quickly from failure to meet demands. Key topics include distributed system design, recovery planning, and adapting to changing requirements. Example, so how you can use the distributed systems. So where one region failed, other region is up. If you have the multi-region deployment, if one region is failed, still your data is available. So that's the major focus of this reliability on that. So what this pillars main focus components here? So the focus components is that foundation. So foundations are reliability, including identifying their critical workloads and establishing appropriate service level agreements like SLAs and availability targets. So what is your data availability target? Example, say 99.9%. So there is a 1% of failure might be you're expecting some hardware failure or some internet bandwidth failure or something like that. That's why you're not committing 100%. You're committing to 99.9% SLAs, the service availability agreement, right? So the next one is failure management. Effective failure management mechanisms including fault tolerance, redundancy, and automated remediation to minimize the impact of system failure. Max to max, when there is a system failure, there should be automated recovery process. Or you avoiding the failure, you think of that, so there might be a failure, you have a redundant system. So that's the failure management focused. Change management, so any change management process including testing, validation procedure to minimize the risk of service disruption from changes to the system. So if you change it, so once if you don't know what is the patch to be installed, you install all the patches on the server. What happens? So there might be a disruption to the some servers because a compatibility issues. If you do not do a testing or the validation procedures properly, then the change management failed. So that's how the service might have the disruption. So you have a fully controlled procedures, testing and validation procedures to minimize the risk of failures. Performance efficiency is like the optimize their systems and services for performance efficiency, including implementing scalable and elastic architectures that can adjust to changing demand. So example, say the auto scaling performance. The auto scaling will be a good example that where it automatically expands whenever there is a huge demand, and it automatically scales to the performance to provide the performance efficiency. So the next one is monitoring. The monitoring is of course to be response, the collecting the metrics, logs, and detecting the issues from that, and analyzing the data and looking for the improvements on that. What is the real-time example? If you take here, if you take an online retailer wants to ensure the reliability of its e-commerce platform during the peak shopping periods. Example, there might be a festival, so most of the people, they wanted to buy something, right? For the festival there will be huge discounts in e-commerce platform, so that is in a peak hour for that. Then, so by implementing a scalable and elastic architecture, establishing appropriate SLAs and availability targets, implementing redundancy and fault tolerance mechanisms, and continuously monitoring and analyzing performance data, the retailer can ensure that its platform remains available and perform during the peak demand period. So if the peak demand period is missed, they might miss a lot of sales. So that's why the retailer wanted to have the highly scalable systems, elastic architectures, and establishing the appropriate SLAs, like it should be available 99.119. So that's the mechanism they implementing, and in case if something failed, there should be a redundancy and fault tolerance. So that's the main focus of this pillar is reliability. So the next fourth pillar is performance. What is that performance pillar do here? Let's see. The performance efficiency pillar focuses on the structured and streamlined allocation of IT and computing services. Key topics including selecting resource types and sizing optimized for workload requirements, monitoring performance, and maintaining efficiency as business needs evolve. That's a main focus here is selecting the appropriate workload. So if you select the non-proper workload things, right? So you required something like 5 terabyte of storage, but you say you selected only 4 terabytes, then there might be a capacity is not up to the mark, then you might have the performance issues, right? So let's see what is its major components of the performance pillar here, the key components what the performance focused on. So first one is the compute resources for performance, including selecting appropriate instance types, implementing auto scaling, and optimizing application performance. So selecting the appropriate instances, the good fit for the good performance, then your compute is running fine. So that way you get a good performance. The next one is storage resources for performance, including selecting the appropriate storage types. So which workload needs which type of storage. So if you are selecting the database as a workload, but you are selecting the storage is S3, that is a bad idea, right? It's not a optimized solution at all, so it's a bad selection. But if you select an EBS for the database to write the IO, so that is the good selection. So that's how you do the appropriate storage type selection, optimizing data retrieval, and implementing a caching mechanism. So wherever you want to deliver the data faster, so some services required caching to deliver it faster. Next one is database performance, including selecting appropriate database types, implementing appropriate indexing, and optimizing query performance. That's the major part of the database. So whenever you are querying the database, it should be perform well. So whenever you write select star from so and so table, it should return fast. So that's way it should be optimized for the performance. Networking. So networking is the main key part of any data delivery, right? So including the selecting the appropriate network architecture, minimizing the latency, optimizing the data transfer. So if you say 1 GB data you wanted to copy it, you initiate the data copy, then it takes hours, then nobody look at that, right? So if you want to copy a 1 terabyte of storage to another location, it should be something like 1 hour, 2 hours it should complete. So that's the network performance most of the customers look for, right? So that's way optimizing the network for the transfer, and minimizing the latency is the key area of focus on the performance. So, and another one is the monitoring, like collecting the metrics and logs and detect and respond to the performance issues quickly and continuously analyze the data, identify areas for the improvement. So example, if a network is having some latency, how you can identify? So you should have some monitoring is in place so that you can able to see, hey, this device is not performing well, or this port is having some issues, or this policy is not allowing some ports, it should be allowed, something like that, right? If you have the monitoring in place, you can able to do that. So what is the real-time example for this performance here? So if you take a media streaming company, so example, say if you take any of the news channels, which is a media streaming company, right, to ensure performance of its streaming service by optimizing the compute optimizing the compute resources for performance, selecting appropriate storage types, and implementing caching mechanisms, optimizing the database performance, and implementing the effective monitoring mechanisms. The company can ensure that its streaming service delivers with high quality video and audio content with a minimal buffering. So example, say that if you are streaming some cricket match, right, then suddenly that it's rolling and rolling and rolling, buffering the video, then you lost the interest to see that, right? So that should not happen. So that's where you get a good performance by optimizing its backend resources like database optimization, network optimization, and the caching services. So you put some caching over there so that the video quality and audio quality would be delivered fast. So that's why it's focused on media streaming is in a real-time example for the performance pillar. Fifth pillar of the well-architected framework, which is cost optimization pillar. What this pillar actually do? So if you see the word itself says that cost optimization. Cost optimization pillar focuses on avoiding unnecessary cost. Key topics including understanding spending over time and controlling fund allocation, selecting resources of the right type and right quantity, and scaling to meet business needs without overspending. So any of the company, most of the companies look for cost optimization, cost effectiveness, right? So how the cost to be saved, how the cost optimization can be done. So this pillar, what is the key components of the cost optimization pillar? Let's see that. So what is the key component here? So the cost aware architecture. What is the cost aware architecture? Example, see that if you put your cost in mind, including selecting the appropriate instances type. Example, say if you need a normal instance for doing some work, but if you're selecting the high capacity or the larger instance, that's where you are overspending, which is not required for your architecture or which is not required for your resource allocation, but how you are selecting the instance type. And storage options, implementing the auto scaling, optimizing the resource utilization, how good you are utilizing the resources, how optimized you are. So that's where your cost aware architecture says. So that's the cost saving perspective. The next one, cost effective resources. So you select the cost effective resources like reserved instances, spot instances, implementing the appropriate cost saving measures. Like example, you take a reserved instances for 3 years or the cost saving plans. So you can cost saving plans, do an agreement with the AWS for 3 years or 5 years long term cost saving plan. So that way you save a lot in doing that. Instead doing an on-demand instances, you can use the reserved instances or the reserved host for your cost optimization purpose. Next one, matching supply and demand. So If you have the demand, you supply it, or unnecessary you manufacture it, or you don't do any delivery, right? You don't have any supply chain, or you don't have any demand but you are doing manufacturing, then it's a waste of time, right? It's a waste of resources, it's a waste of manpower. So that's where matching your supply on demand. What is the demand you have, that's what you supply. So implementing the scaling mechanisms that automatically adjust resource allocation based on the demand patterns. You have a high demand, that should scale automatically. If the demand is falling down, your resource should fall down, or resource should decrease based on the resource utilization. So that's where the cost, supply and demand matches. Optimizing over time, so you have to do the optimization there, like the usage and cost over time, by monitoring usage patterns and identifying areas for improvement and implementing cost saving measures. The next one is data driven. So you should collect the data, make sure, not assumed. Okay, you do not do the assumption, make sure by collecting the data. Cost optimization, by analyzing usage patterns and cost data and identifying opportunities for optimizations, like where you can save, what is the maximum cost savings you can do, right? Not compromising on the quality, but you do the best optimization on the cost. Okay, example, in real-time case, if you take a mobile gaming company wants to optimize its usage of storage resources by selecting the appropriate storage options, implementing the efficient data retrieval and caching mechanisms, and identifying opportunities for data compression, the company can optimize its storage utilization and minimize the cost. Example, that's like you have the data, but you don't have a compression mechanism, then you do not save the data compression, you do not save the data capacity, right? You do not save the capacity, you're just utilizing the storage, but you're not doing the optimization. So if you compress the data, or if you dedupe the data, then lot of the deduplication files and data compression will save the actual storage. So that's the one example for the mobile gaming company wants to optimize their storage resources for the cost optimization pillar. Sixth pillar, the last one, sustainability. So you should be sustained in the market. That would be the greater achievement for any company to do that, right? So that's the one. The sustainability pillar focuses on minimizing the environmental impacts of running cloud workload. Key topics including the shared responsibility model for sustainability, understanding impact, and maximizing utilization to minimize required resources and reduce downstream impacts. So what is the key focused components on this sustainability pillar is, first one is sustainable architecture. The architecture should be sustainable, including the selecting emergency. The key components of the sustainability pillar is like sustainable architecture. The architecture should be have the sustainability in mind, including the selecting the energy efficient instance types, implementing the efficient data storage retrieval mechanisms, and optimizing the network usage. So that's the sustainable architecture. And renewable energy means you can generate the energy. So renewable energy sources such as a wind or solar power to power their operations, reducing their carbon footprint, right? So example, wind based solar power, so that actually reduces carbon footprint and it gives the power. So that's the renewable energy. So waste on reduction, waste management practices such as reducing the paper usage, recycling electric equipment and disposing the hazardous materials properly. So that's the waste reduction focus on sustainability. Sustainable operations. So the next one is the sustainable operations, like the operation practices such as promoting the remote work and reducing travel to reduce their carbon footprint and promote sustainability. Promoting the remote work instead of traveling to the remote location. So that's the example of sustainable operations. Sustainability awareness. So you should have the awareness first. What is sustainability, right? So among their employees and stakeholders, by providing the education and training to the sustainable practices and encouraging sustainable behavior. So if we have the in mind what is sustainability and what that awareness you have in your mind or your employees mind, your stakeholders mind, then you have the right education and right training to that, then you follow the guidelines. So that's the sustainability awareness providing to the employees and the stakeholders. What is the example here? Retail company wants to minimize the waste by implementing the responsible waste management practices such as reducing the paper usage, recycling electric equipment, disposing the hazardous materials properly, like the chemicals or the used chemicals, not reused components. So you should be properly dispose them. Otherwise, that will create environmental issues. That would be a not sustainable model, right? In the long run, it creates a lot of problems. The company can minimize the waste and promote sustainability. So that's how the retail company can do the implementing the responsible waste management can be sustainability model on this cost, the sustainability pillar model. So that's all 6 pillars says here. So let's see what is the example services we have here. So for the first pillar, you have the AWS config. So which is actually you look for the compliance and configuration management and AWS CloudWatch for monitoring and alerting. So that's the first one where it actually looks for the complaint. So you have the complaints in place, then you are good. So you are doing an operational excellence. The next one is security pillar. So what is that security pillar here? The security pillar majorly 2 services is comes here. IAM, so the identity and access management, which is basically look out of the accessing management controls and authorization controls, right? Access control policies and all. And the VPC provide the securities on the network. So that's the second pillar example. The third pillar example, reliability. So the EC2 and the S3, the core services of the AWS, provides 99.119 accessibility and uptime for the users. So that's the reliability example here. The fourth pillar, which is actually the performance. So elastic load balancers, CloudFront performance. So example, elastic load balancers will provide you the good performance to the multiple applications, and CloudFront, which is a caching solution, the CDN, content delivery network, which is actually delivers the content faster to the static websites or the dynamic websites to the across the globe in minutes. That's the performance example. So the next one, cost optimization pillar, where you have the cost explorer services or the auto scaling services, where you can explore your cost to the each and every service, what services have what cost incurred using the service, right? Auto scaling, actually it's actually scales whenever demands is high, and automatically reduce the resources when there is no demand. So that's the auto scaling will provide you the cost optimization. So the last one is sustainability. Sustainability is where auto scaling feature provides the sustainability, like if you get high demand, still the service is served to the customers. That's how the company sustains, and they get the real time selling the products and showcasing the video streams and all, right? So that's how they earn the money, they scale, and they sustain in the market. So these all six pillars which AWS well-architected framework provide the better, secure, and efficient services to the cloud users. That's all about this video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Please subscribe to the channel for more upcoming video. Do press like if you like this video and share it with your friends.